It's Francis Leach here, and this podcast of Parliament House, where the NBN travels in a time walk back to 1984, 64 dial-up, and I sound like I'm broadcasting from Mars.
Hello and welcome to episode 12 of The Bulletin. We've got a super special episode this week. It's Qatar World Cup, and we've got the co-chief executive of the Professional Footballers Australia Union, Kate Gill, and Socceroo and PFA President Alex Wilkinson. Hey guys, thank you for coming on. And there's Francis in Parliament.
Pleasure, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Are you sleep deprived, Cleo and Kate and Alex, watching night and trying to get up and work during the day?
Look, I don't mind the 9 p.m. start. That's okay. I can do the 6 a.m., but anything in between, no.
Yeah, we've been lucky so far with the Socceroos game was a 6 a.m. and not a 2 a.m., so that was nice.
Well, Alex, you've been there and played for Australia as well, so you know about the pressure, the expectation, and the great privilege. You also know about the hard work that players do to get to where they are professionally, and to work together for the best possible conditions in which to work and play the game that they love. On the line in a couple of weeks ago with that incredible video that the players made in relation to Qatar, which has been the hot button issue of the World Cup, and will continue to be so. So players must have been taken on something of a journey here to get them to understand the implications of what's happening. They understand that, you know, they had a voice that they could use on this issue.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, like you said, for a player, the World Cup or just representing your country in general is the pinnacle of any sport, I guess. And to do it at a World Cup just makes it, you know, that much more special, I guess you could say. It's literally the biggest tournament in our game, and it's a difficult one to qualify for. Evidenced by the fact we haven't qualified for too many over the years. We've been very lucky to qualify for, I think, 4 in a row now. Or this might be our 5th in a row, which is fantastic. But it's something that we shouldn't take for granted. But yeah, like you said, it was fantastic that the Socceroos decided to speak out and let their thoughts be known on what they thought of exactly what was happening in Qatar. But like you mentioned, it definitely was a process. You know, it's not something they decided to do, you know, off a whim or at a moment's notice. It's been a journey for them, and you know they've spent a lot of time in Qatar over the last 2 years with the COVID restrictions and not being able to play their home games in Australia. They played their home games in Qatar, for those that don't know, over the last 2 years during the World Cup qualifying. So they spent a lot of time there learning and listening to organisations like FIFA, like FIFPro, which is the World Footballers Union, and most importantly, they listened to, you know, the workers themselves. And I guess they sort of felt that, you know, in order for lasting change and I guess a legacy to be left long after the World Cup's gone, that they wanted to raise those issues publicly and in the hope that, you know, it could have a positive effect on not only the workers in Qatar, but also, I guess, the general public in Qatar as well.
Okay. You go, Claire.
I was just going to ask how that initial conversation happened. How did the campaign, what was the first, was there a catalyst or anything like that? Or just some big conversations?
Yeah, I think it started as a conversation, like I said, a while ago now. And there's been a couple of guys within the Socceroos camp who've been really driving it, in, you know, executive members of our union, Jackson Irvine and Matty Ryan, who have been driving the message throughout the group and educating and advocating each time they're in camp and keeping all the players updated. And I guess that sort of culminated in them sort of sending that video out. And I guess they wanted to send that message so everyone knew where they stood before the tournament started. So I guess once they're there now, they can concentrate on the football and trying to win matches.
Were you surprised at just how much that video resonated with Australians from all walks and the impact that it had?
Not really. I think everyone involved in the PFA and I guess the Socceroos themselves sort of knew that it'd get a lot of coverage. So I don't think that was a surprise as such. And I think it's fantastic that it has got so much coverage. Australia's not the only nation, I guess, that are speaking out publicly and trying to raise awareness about the human rights, the workers' rights, the LGBTQIA rights and whatnot that's happening in Qatar. There's other nations that we see at the World Cup that are doing the same thing. And I guess it's just about realising that, us as footballers, whether we like it or not, have a certain platform that I guess people listen to. And it's about using that platform, I guess, to educate and advocate and for change and for better situations, whatever they be. And I think this is, a perfect example of that.
Francis, you go.
Okay. Kate Gill, a question for you on the fact that the footballers in that video talk about themselves as workers, which is footballers are often seen at the very top end, the Cristiano Ronaldo's of the world. So the reality is that for the vast majority of professional footballers, it's a working wage. You depend on, and Alex, you can talk to this too, that they are workers. It's a different work, but they see themselves as workers.
Yeah, completely right, Francis. I mean, the PFA and the players within our organisation have always really fought to respect and have their rights as workers protected, and they do acknowledge that they are workers. They're more than just footballers. They're also individuals that have a voice, and as Alex articulated quite well, have a platform, and they're not afraid to use that platform. So for them to be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with fellow workers who are having their rights abused, it seemed like it was quite a cohesive position for the players to take. They fully understand what that feels like, and be able to have that protected and respected in that capacity is what they've been strongly advocating for.
And I think we also need to acknowledge and the USA national women's football team and other female footballers as workers as well, because it was the Matildas who actually, and you will remember all of this, that went on strike at one stage and gave up a tour of America to play against Team USA in order to push the case for equal pay for Australia's female footballers. Huge sacrifices that they've made as workers to close their own gender pay gap. So footballers of trying to shift the needle on these core issues that are endemic across all sectors of the community.
Yeah, I just want to lead into a question. This is just kind of for background for anyone that might be watching that doesn't know what the kafala system is. And it says in the video that they've almost entirely dismantled the kafala system, but the kind of implementation of it is inconsistent. What is the kafala system?
Yeah, so the kafala system, it essentially ties the worker to their employee, and they literally have to ask to be released from their employment contract, regardless of if they've been discriminated against or their rights are being inhibited in any way. It's just a form of modern-day slavery, essentially.
And Alex, I know that the International Trade Union Confederation, Builders Union as well, have got some oversight now on those big building sites and make sure that there is compliance. But that's going to be the big challenge, isn't it, after the caravan of the World Cup move? The legacy that you talked about of workers actually having a change in their conditions and actually is something that is sustained.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, the last thing that I guess we as a group want, and I'm sure that the rest of the nations who are competing in the World Cup and that are actively speaking out, is that, we raise all this awareness and talk a lot, but once the World Cup's finished and I guess everyone leaves Qatar, that it's just forgotten, and that, the workers are back to exactly how they were before. But like you mentioned, there has obviously been significant progress in relations to the workers' rights, but I think, like you also said, it's just about now making sure that the reforms are actually implemented, and I guess that's where the challenge is now. And the implementation of reforms is definitely going to be the challenge. And it's just things like, that we take for granted here in Australia, just getting your wages paid on time, or the ability to be able to, you know, leave their job and change jobs, and just the ability to be able to earn a minimum wage. Just things that we as a community here in Australia completely take for granted, that these guys just obviously haven't had access to in the not, you know, in the past few years, I guess.
And they confiscate their documents so that they can't leave the country. Is that right? That's
Correct.
it's so dark. Like I can't even fathom it. Well, we've got to kind of wrap it up now, but it was a real pleasure to have you both on, and especially considering how timely it is. Thank you so much for making time for us. Yeah, it's been a real corker of a World Cup thus far. So I hope you're both looking after yourselves.
Yeah, I'm sure there's many more sleepless nights to come yet. We're only a few days in, so it's going to be a long 3 or 4 weeks. But let's hope we're getting up early in the next few weeks to follow the Socceroos if they can make it a bit further into the tournament. That would be a great result.
Yes, absolutely.
It would be a great result. And I just want to also say for the Matildas for the work that they've done to give a voice to those that don't have. We continue to lead from the front to show, you know, to exhibit the values that make us very proud. We're already proud of them for what they do on the pitch, but nothing made me more proud than seeing that connected to the community they represent, but also the community in which they're playing. They've already won the World Cup because they've done something special. So thank you to the PFA and onwards to a really great Women's World Cup next year here in Australia. Kate and Alex, I having been to the Australia, aren't really quite gotten around their head around just what a special event that is going to be. Looking forward to that. It's going to be something really, really special.
Yeah, completely. Can't wait for it.
Good on you guys. Thank you for being with us here
Thank
on
you,
the
guys.
Bulletin.
Thanks very much.
Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the Bulletin. You can catch us next week as usual. Make sure that you like and share and subscribe. And also, as we like to always say, don't we, Francis? Join your bloody union.
And become active in your union. Or
And
else
become active in your union.
I'll send that Tasmanian tiger dreams
To come and get ya.